And while I'm at it, I'll just go live.
Mm.
All right. I assume you've hit record. I assume that noise was the click. So
I pressed it.
It's Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are reviewing the charming Pokémon Concierge. I'm going to try to not make the Stanley Cup playoffs the opening bit to literally every show for the next several weeks, but it's going to be really hard to not.
You mean 2 months?
Yeah.
It would help if we lost. It would be much easier to stop talking.
Yeah. But it's going well. That's all I'll say. It's going well. So
it's about as good a start as it could have.
Yep. This is how New York sports fans talk about their teams. I've learned this over the years of living here, that I can't talk about the Rangers the way I would have talked about the Red Wings in similar circumstances as a child, for various cursed reasons that I have come to respect over time. It's amazing how New York sports is. Like, there's really no other place like this, I think.
Yeah, we share some things in common with other places.
Yeah. At least we don't live in Toronto. Good Lord, are they going to just... I don't know how they're going to handle this series.
Mm.
But I saw something noteworthy, because I've never seen something like this before, on my bike home from work today, and I was not involved in this altercation. This was a long
All
running...
you see is altercations. Don't you see anything nice?
Oh, this is the first altercation I have seen in the year 2024 biking home.
Okay.
But it was a crazy one. So biking home, I'm on an e-bike, one of those white ones, because now they have like 100 of them next to Grand Central, and it's cheaper and faster than taking the subway home to take one of those home. So I'm riding. I get to the Queensboro Bridge like normal. Everything's fine. And ahead of me are two kids who are also on the white e-bikes. They all go the same speed. Like, I can't overtake them. They couldn't get away from me if I were like chasing them or something. Those things go pretty much the same speed if you're pedaling. And I'm just biking up, and there's someone coming in the opposite direction. And as soon as he gets close to us, these two kids swerve out at him to try to run him off the trail, like super aggressively. And he like swerves out of the way and falls over. And then they laugh and get back out of the bike lane. And then someone else is coming along the way, and they do the same thing to them. And then they swerve and like smack a pedestrian. And they basically just play chicken with every single person, bike, scooter, or pedestrian, who's coming the opposite direction, like yelling and slapping people, and like they cause a bunch of crashes along the way. And I'm like 50 feet behind them. And there's really nothing I can do. I just see this horrific tale play out, and then I get to the bottom of the bridge, and they head off down the road, and that's the end of that.
I'm surprised. Like, if someone played chicken with me, and I could tell that it was like on purpose and not just like, whoa, what's up?
There's definitely, for someone who's a skilled cyclist, if someone did that to me, and I believe you could do the same, I could ensure that they hit me in a way that harms them, but not me.
Sure. But like, in that case, I would be like, especially if it's a kid, it's like, yeah, I would probably violently assault them and say it was
Well, the thing is,
they tried to kill me.
People did yell and chase and like try to go after them, but they couldn't catch them because they were on e-bikes, and they forced everyone off the road along the way.
I guess I'd have to. I can't really picture exactly how this went down. That they played chicken with someone, but then kept going and
because
didn't actually have to stop.
Everyone either crashed, fell off their bike, swerved out of the way desperately to avoid them, and no one could had the time to turn around.
Oh, so like they played chicken with them, and then at the last second, the kids pulled out of the way.
No, the kids didn't pull out. Everyone else either swerved or like got hit by them and fell over. Or
I see.
Yeah, like so they knocked a bunch of people off their bikes.
I see. So if it's clearly intentional, right? I'm just gonna look. You know what? Actually, what I would do if I had enough time,
because I thought if I had been on my bike, I think I would have actually caught up to them and knocked one of them over just so consequences could happen. But I was on an e-bike that literally cannot go faster than them. All I could do is watch.
I don't know. I guess if someone's playing chicken with me, and I can tell that it's not that they don't see me, that they're like trying to play chicken like an idiot, and they still refuse to get out of the way, it's like, once they're past me, my chances is going to be gone. if I have enough time, I think I could like hop off,
Yeah.
and then give them and then shove them down.
Oh, so
right?
there was a moment, there was a jogger.
So I could hop off before they hit me, and then just like take them out.
The jogger guy, the one kid hit him hard enough to knock him over.
Mm-hmm.
And they slowed down.
Wait, so the guy was jogging. If he's jogging, yeah, he definitely could have pushed the kid over.
I don't think he thought the kid was
didn't.
actually going to ram him.
Yeah, he didn't realize what was happening.
Because I would not assume that a kid
in your position, you could have yelled at the people coming the other way.
Oh, I was trying to warn everyone along the way, but no one. Think about it. Think about New Yorkers. If someone's yelling, you kind of just ignore them.
I guess, but it's like, that kid's gonna hit you with his bike. Attack him. Stop him. Right? I'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah, but imagine you're doing your thing and someone yells, "Attack that kid."
I guess it depends. You could have yelled something like, I guess hindsight is 2020.
I couldn't yell much else other than "Watch out! Out of the way!"
You could be like, "He stole my phone. Stop him!" Right? And people would if you did that, right? In New York, if you're like, "That guy stole that lady's purse," everyone around would be like, get him, right?
Yep.
They wouldn't do it if it was like, "That guy's shoplifting. Who gives a shit?" But it's like, that guy stole someone's phone. He's got someone's purse.
I mean, one
him,
time
right?
years ago, I was walking down toward the 7 train, and a kid slams into me. This kid was 13 or 14. He slams into me, and I don't before I can even react, he runs off. And then 10 seconds later, 2 cops come running and they yell, "Where'd he go?" And I didn't say shit, and neither did anyone else.
Yeah, that's a totally different situation, right? Because if someone steals a phone and New Yorkers stop them, right?
Yep.
It's going to be like, take the phone back, give it back to the person it belongs to, and then get the fuck out of here, asshole, right? Right? That's the right solution. And you know what? That's what police should fucking do. Right? You don't need to arrest someone who's clearly their life is ruined. And if you arrest them and go through all the justice system, you're just costing us and them a lot of pain and hassle. All we want is the fucking phone back, right? Repair the damage.
Yep.
Right? That's what you got to do. Right? So it's like, did we need these kids to go to jail or, right? No, we just need them to learn their fucking lesson, right? Someone pushes them over one time, they won't do that shit again, right? You're riding, I bet you all those stupid kids doing the subway surfing, right? Yeah, there are kids out there probably still doing the subway surfing, but not the ones who saw a friend die.
Yep. Or maybe
if you saw your friend die subway surfing and you're still doing it, you should be allowed to do it because you're a nut job.
Yeah, and if you fully understand the consequences and it's a thing that won't hurt someone else.
Right. Well, just leave your corpse on the tracks. Okay, bro.
So yeah, that was the normal. I'm not going to just tell random bike anecdotes anymore because I think I've covered every possible thing. But this was a new one for me. And you're not over. It doesn't take that long to get over that bridge, so it wasn't like there was a long time to interact with this situation.
Yeah, no, that's a new one. But at least now that we had the zebra storyteller tell us about this, we can. If it happens again, we'll be slightly more prepared.
Yep. I've considered what would I do. So, in a little bit of news, real quick update. So, I am continuing to watch Dungeon Meshi as it continues.
I'll watch it, here and there. I'm, not religiously got to watch every episode as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, it's a solid show. I'm still saying it feels like an A- tier. It's not S tier. This ain't no Evangelion, Bebop. It's not
obviously,
that. But it's better than I expected because it is definitely pretty rapidly, after it gets past its first main plot point, shifts tone, and while it remains a cooking show, it is way more a fantasy show that I would say is 60% Full Metal Alchemist, 30% Slayers, 10% cooking show now.
It's obviously mostly, right, you can't just stick with the cooking forever. It wouldn't work, right? All along that it's going to go into the mystery of what the fuck the dungeon is all about, right?
Yep. It basically, after a moment that's happened a few episodes ago, it just turns to the side and starts heading straight toward that plot as hard as possible.
So people should also know that in the United States, at least, volume 14 of the manga is the final volume. That's the end of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it comes out in a couple months, I want to say.
I'm glad I didn't read the manga because the manga has been running between 2014 and 2023 in Japan. And I do not have the patience to follow something that long anymore.
Volume 14 comes out in July. It is the final volume of the manga.
Yep. So you can be confident that the anime will never need filler episodes.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. So you got any news?
I don't know, news thing of the day, whatever. But basically, this is movie. It's an independent Chinese animated film called Art College 1994. You can watch the trailer. And if you watch the trailer, it's actually a good movie trailer. You don't see those too often these days. And I think that's actually because, not just because they're good at making a trailer, but again, you know, my hobby horse, one of my horses, right, is that there's too many movies and, you know, mostly TV, but also now even some movies only ask the audience the question, what happens next? And so the trailers have nothing to show except for what happens. Whereas this is a kind of movie that's not about what happens. So therefore the trailer can't spoil, even if you believe in spoilers, because it's not about what happens, right? It's about clearly the atmosphere of life in an art school for poor art students in China, right? And, you know, the difficulties of that life, right? You know, not just the normal art school life that you would have if you would say art school US 1994.
Yeah,
right?
I know what that looks like.
Right, but so take that and add in China 1994, right? And, you know, hey, it's going to be in theaters starting Friday, and I guess at least next week in New York City. I don't know about where you live. It's probably, you know, it's a super indie film. It's not only indie, it's foreign also. The double whammy of unlikely to screen at the Regal AMC,
right?
Big theater chain.
And I got to, I'm because like I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. Like, so there's a certain kind of person when they hit a certain age, they just start watching a lot of Civil War documentaries. But for me, the thing that I'm starting to be more and more interested in and seeking out are period pieces. For any period. I like things that are set in a time and a place, not just a place or a plot.
I do like a period piece. And you know what? There is I don't want to say large or even significant, but that the Fantastic Four movie that's coming, right? You know, Fantastic Four is not my favorite superhero. They're okay. And I haven't seen any superhero-y movie since fucking forever, right? None of this Marvel
other than Spider-Verses, but those are special.
Yeah. But they're making that shit apparently a 60s period piece by all indications, and that's like, you know, as opposed to some, you know, universe. I'm sure it'll have universe stuff, right? But it's like, maybe that will be something that should be watched as opposed to all this other, you know, Avengers garbage I don't give a shit about, right? So there you go.
I feel like what set me down this road was specifically, you know, Fargo the movie, which is like the S-tier movie, but the TV show is an S-tier TV show. Like, it shocked me how good it is, but every season of it is also a period piece because they are set in very specific times and it matters a lot. It's just very well done.
That's how they do it. So it's all in Fargo, but
it's all like times. The same place but different times. Like, and it matters a lot.
It's like season 1, grandpa, season 2, grandkids, season 3, even more grandchild.
Yeah. But they're so well done that it doesn't matter what order you watch the seasons in either, because they're all completely standalone. They just happen to all be tied together by the thread of, not to get into Fargo, but yeah, it's a good show. It's worth watching.
There's that building. Now you can see the building all run down in the next season, and the third season.
Those two guys who did that thing, they were part of the mob. That was the end of the plot of that other season. Okay, I see how this fits together. So anyway, in a little news, this trailer dropped. I don't know anything about the show, so this is like the laziest news. But the trailer is for a show, Tonari no Yokai-san, that Crunchyroll dropped the Japanese trailer about 3 weeks ago, and I don't know if there's
like
even
in the thumbnail, which is the only thing I've seen besides the title.
Looks like a Makoto Shinkai type of thing, doesn't it?
There is a cat of some kind, animal thing, that is wearing Monkey D. Luffy's hat.
If you start the video, it starts with Makoto Shinkai looking clouds coming over an environment. But what it looks like the translation of the show in English is My cat is turning into a Nekomata, and it looks like it is one of those magical realism, semi-fantastical Japan shows where creatures like Nekomata are kind of normal, and it's about a family where their cat's acting weird, and then they're like, I think the cat's turning into a Nekomata, and then the cat's like, yes, I am, and I'm shy and embarrassed about it, and what are we going to do?
Okay.
And it just looks really cute.
Okay.
Yeah, put a little marker here. But anyway, things of the day. So, on the opposite side, there's a show that I think I heard of from like Daryl Surratt once. That's about this cowboy who brings his horse to northern Japan in a vaguely fake Wild West setting and also becomes a Sentai hero. Some old, probably bad anime. But what I did not realize is that this anime includes a character that is just a regular horse. And this is a 10-minute compilation of lots of scenes with just this horse. And this is the kind of thing you would take selections from and show at an anime hell at 11 o'clock at night at like an Otakon or an Anime Boston with no context, and the crowd would lose their minds. So if you want 10 minutes of a weird horse from an anime from 1985, that's what this is.
Mm.
So what do you got?
All right, so this could be a gaming news or a tech news, but we're Geek Nights. We can do all three at once.
We can do whatever we
want. It's also about Gundam, and no one's listening. The listener isn't listening anyway.
Total aside, our friends are watching Gundam Seed, and I'm vicariously remembering Gundam Seed through them.
Yeah, so there was that Gundam FPS game that we played for free for 2 seconds, and it was complete garbage. That game died quickly, mercifully, expectedly. Called Gundam whatever. It was a Gundam Evolution something, right? But anyway, that game is gone. But people with technological abilities were able to get the software for the server. Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
So now this complete garbage game that was pay to win, whatever, they're setting up or have already set up servers. And so now this game can be played, for free without any company involvement, without any paying of monies to win, I guess, because someone's paying to host this server somewhere. But, or you could maybe even run your own server. I don't know if you can read the instructions, or they got a Discord at discord.gg/side7. So yeah, if this could be, if they can figure out how to modify the game, which, it wasn't a game made to support mods, right? It was a live service game, but there had to be a way for the people who running the game to sort of update it. So there must be a mechanism by which they could, push things into the server. So if they get some game development resources, this could, obviously not now. Now you'd just be playing the garbage game with other people who are technologically savvy enough to make it work. But this does have potential to evolve Gundam Evolution into something worthwhile, right? A Gundam FPS that doesn't suck and has servers that you can run yourself like it's the olden days and no pay to wins. Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Exciting. Possibly exciting.
In the meta moment, other than like PAX Unplugged and PAX West and then MagFest, not a lot of conventions in our horizon. But the book club book remains. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. Within a few weeks, we're definitely doing that show. I have taken a lot from this book that diverges from things I took away from the movie. They complement each other very well, but as is always the case, if there's a movie based on a book, usually reading the book is a good idea, even if you really like the movie. And this is like a case study in that. What else? I mean, the website's done. I feel like we talked about that for so long. I always feel like I need to talk about it.
I mean, who uses websites anymore?
Right?
I'm working on some other addition. There's a bunch of bug fixes. We got to make this whole list. If it's an open source website, if you want to come help me out, you can. There's some other features I want to work on. Getting some activity pub action, things like that.
Yep.
So
I'm mostly working on completely unrelated side projects stuff because I'm running my
I'm mostly working on my own personal biz.
I'm working on a thing I won't talk about on GeekNights, but I've got my Mastodon server, but it's just me. Like it's rim at like Mastodon.
I just don't want to use, it's like I'm fine with ActivityPub. I just don't want to use Mastodon, the software. So I want to I haven't found one that I like, so I kind of want to make one.
Yeah. So as a user of Mastodon, I also have not found one that I like.
Yeah. So
the vanilla Mastodon software is meh, is my formal official review of that software.
Yep.
Solid C software right there.
Mm-hmm. Ideally, you would have this sort of server that you run that is a lot more like an email server that has your, because it's the way that the ActivityPub protocol works is you have an inbox and an outbox and whatnot, right? So you should have this server that you just sort of run and configure, but doesn't have like a web page or anything. And then, or has, only some amount of web stuff because that's the protocol is HTTP.
Yeah, but it's more like when in the old days when you'd like run a mail server for yourself on your domain.
Right, and then you would open up your email client, and then that would give you all your messages and things for the client side, and then it just needs to be able to talk on the other side. And then there's some other things you have to do, if you want to support certain features. Like if you want to be able to, post an image, it's like, well, the image has yet to, you could do entirely separate image hosting, like host your own imager, right, or something, and then just put links to the images. But you have to. Those are the things that are sort of not entirely in the protocol, sort of, that Mastodon takes care of that you have to do, right? It's like, if you think about it, like if I send you an email and I want to put images in it, email doesn't have image hosting. I can attach some JPEGs.
Yeah.
But I'd have to basically make a web server with images on them and then put img src equals, point it at the web server, and that's how you get an image in an email. So you have to do sort of the same sort of concepts.
Yeah, that's why I'm also playing with a microblog, and I'm trying out a bunch of stuff, but I'm not being too precious about where I publish thoughts or whatever it is that I do. I'm kind of just throwing everything out everywhere and seeing what happens and not worrying about if anyone else sees it.
I'm just doing nothing until I, can build a place to last the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I haven't really missed out
you
on
might
anything.
spend the rest of your life building a place.
That's fine. That would be great, actually.
Yeah. Because honestly, the GeekNights is just this, and the fact that we have a website and those are just ways we publish it out there. That they're not really intrinsic to what GeekNights is. GeekNights. A
lot of podcasts don't even have websites. They just you find us on Spotify, Apple Music.
GeekNights used to be an experience you could only have if you slept over at a specific apartment that is now burned to the ground and buried in rubble and replaced. If you were in that particular apartment, laying on the floor between our two beds in the year 2003, you could have experienced GeekNights. So someday it might go back to that in the retirement home.
Maybe. We should be able to podcast from the retirement home.
I feel like we'll be able to podcast from the retirement home. But the other thing we have to do in the retirement home, we got to play King Arthur Pendragon.
We should. Anyway.
All right. Let's just dive right into it. This is a really short show, but it's definitely worth talking about despite how short it is. This is Pokémon Concierge. I want to come in way ahead of the fact that when I watched the first episode of this, I thought it was delightful. I also thought, just not knowing anything, that it was done in CG. Because
you didn't know.
Because it looked fantastic, and it looked like fantastic stop motion, but I did not realize immediately that it was actually stop motion until I went to watch episode 2, and then I saw a documentary, and I was like, oh, it's full on for real stop motion. Goddamn.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is there was the Pinocchio from Netflix.
Yep.
Right. If you haven't seen that, you should. And so I think the company it's some Netflix thing. Was it Dwarf Studio? Is it that?
Yeah, it's Dwarf Studio.
Right. So the Dwarf Studio, in combination with Netflix, did they do the Pinocchio one also? I think they did.
I don't know if they did, to be honest, because
the Pinocchio was Guillermo del Toro, right?
Because Laika is the other big studio people might recognize that still does stop motion.
But anyway, the point is, okay, so yeah, the the Del Toro Pinocchio one was production companies: Netflix, Double Dare You, Shadow Machine, Jim Henson, Taller de Chucho. I don't know what that one is. But yeah, it must be Del Toro's company. But these are both Netflix stop motion animated films, right? And so the Pinocchio one I actually went to the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, not to be confused with the Met, or the MoMI. And I went there and they had an exhibit about Pinocchio, and they had all the production artifacts there and the models and the puppets and the sets and right. And what I basically learned there was that is stop motion animation still a huge pain in the ass? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Obviously, you're moving something a tiny bit, taking a picture, moving it a tiny bit, taking a picture, moving, right? It's still what they're doing to make these things. And it's still incredibly time consuming, resource intensive. Not a lot of people have the skills necessary. There are some people who are just masters of it, who are the people doing this, etc. But there are two technologies that have caused a significant advancement in this area. One of them obviously being the digital camera, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, to do stop motion with an analog camera, you would take the picture, you couldn't look at it right away. You would advance your film one frame, take another picture, and then you would have to, like, I don't know, keep notes on, like, if you wanted to, like, redo a frame, you have to remember to go cut it with a scissor later to remove it.
I used to try to do very short stop motion when I was a kid because I had an 8mm film camera. But it was like a camcorder.
Did it have a single frame advance?
It had a single frame advance option that was kind of like a trigger, and you could trigger it like a gun, or you could mount it somewhere, and then there was a little remote control on a wire you could hit that was like physical. I think it was pneumatic actually, and that would advance the frame as well.
But yeah, we have a digital camera. So even my digital camera has special stop motion features on it, right? So this means you can take a shot, look at it, see if it's right, delete it if you don't like it, mark it, do whatever you got to do. You can hook it up. You can tether to a computer to see it on a screen, to manage every frame as you're going, right? You retake, roll back, forward. Obviously, that's way easier. And the second thing that is significantly advanced, the stop motion animation technology, is 3D printing, because you can, instead of having to sit there with like sculptors making everything out of clay constantly with their hands, or crafting, puppets by hand all the time, you can 3D model everything, print them out, and then do some sanding and some painting, and you can make like a head with like 1,000 sets of eyes and 100 teeth, right? And so if the Pinocchio and also the Pokemon Concierge have both made extensive use of 3D printing lots and lots of things that are, in the models and also the sets. And it's terrific, actually.
Yep. And partly I'm glad that there's a small number of studios that are just keeping this art alive, but also, based from what you just said, evolving the art while maintaining the core of what it fundamentally is.
Yep. But you can also, like, the way they're doing the 3D printing, it's almost like there's it's like how certain video games have the same shader and they look alike?
Yep.
It's sort of like that. Like, you can see the visual commonalities between the Pinocchio and the Pokemon Concierge, where you can sort of tell that it's even though they couldn't be further apart, the Pinocchio is sort of dark, right? Whereas the Pokemon couldn't be more bright and colorful. But in terms of the shapes of things and the way they move and whatnot, there's just so much similarity there with the production techniques and methods going on. But yeah, you can still tell that despite those advancements, stop motion animation is still looks amazing. It always has, but even back in the Harryhausen days, but is still a huge pain in the ass and is expensive and time consuming, which is why Pokemon Concierge is so short.
Yep. 15 to 20 minutes is the running time for this thing. There's only 4 episodes of the first season.
All right. And the Pokemon and the Pinocchio, which is just one movie, was, very expensive.
But if I had to say the most, like, in terms of...
And it's only 117 minutes. So.
The thing about Pokemon Concierge that they like 100% right is it centers the Pokemon, and the Pokemon, like, this is just an excuse to see amazing stop motion of Pokemon that you like. Like, the Pokemon are so good.
I think it's different than that. I think it's an excuse to make you like Pokemon. right? For the audience, right? So it's like, even if you don't know about Pokemon or care about Pokemon, right? It's about basically this island resort, right? Where Pokemon go on vacation, not people.
Yep.
And there are both people and Pokemon that work there taking care of the Pokemon. And this one person is escaping their boring corporate life of overwork to go become a concierge at this resort. And,
if that were an option, I'd be there right now.
Of course, right. So you'd be fighting. That would be the hardest job in the world to get. So, but them getting the job, right, and having their life refreshed, right, is sort of what the show does for the audience, right? Is you escape from your daily drudgery to the magical Pokemon island where Pokemon are just chilling and having a good time.
I mean, it's pretty on the nose when there's a moment in the show where she's like, she sees a Pokemon evolve, which it's a good episode. I mean, they're all good. There's only 4, but she's like, man, I wish I could evolve. I wish I could.
You literally just did.
Yep.
But it's like, yeah, even if your favorite Pokemon doesn't appear in this show, even if you hate all the Pokemon that are in this show, it's like you sort of, it's just animals having a good time, interacting, and bringing joy to the characters around them, but also to the audience watching, right?
Yeah,
it's
animals having a good time is a genre of internet content.
Right. It's like, you think about it, like, people just go watch cat videos. This is like someone making cat video, except it's Psyduck video instead.
Yeah.
On purpose, right?
And I think they understood the mission in that the voice cast is 4 people because it's pretty much all Pokemon.
Pretty much. But yeah, it's like, it's funny how the main Pokemon in the show, which is Psyduck, which I imagine you know that already.
Top tier Pokemon, that Psyduck.
Right. Is a Pokemon that it's like, Psyduck, but do I care about Psyduck? Not really. I would never had a Psyduck in my team. I never cared about him.
I only liked Psyduck because of Psyduck's side plots in the original cartoon.
Right. But here, this show, it makes you like the Psyduck. It's like they don't need to do a fan service of giving you what you want. It's like it's so endearing that they can, make you like what they want you to like and then give you that, right? It's like they can change your taste and then give you the food they just made you like.
Nah.
Rather than trying to figure out the food you like and trying to find it.
But I think that's also a big key because this is the kind of show where if someone's never heard of Pokemon, they'll probably find it delightful. If someone's a mega Pokemon fan, they're going to love it for a lot of other reasons. Like, I can't imagine who would not enjoy this show, especially considering how short it is.
A cold, dark, and evil human being.
Yeah, I don't think many Republicans would like this show.
I don't know, but even they might like it.
I'd hope so. That's how you turn someone from the path of evil.
What do they find in here that is not to like? I don't know. It's literally just people going to an island and having a good time, right? Doing everyday and somewhat not everyday stuff with Pokemon involved.
It's everyday stuff for the Pokemon universe, I would say.
Yeah. Trying on clothes, exercising, dancing, swimming, flying.
Yep. And there is good news if you listen to Geek Nights, there's no reason not to watch this unless you don't have Netflix. And if you don't have Netflix, either or whenever you rotate Netflix in to catch up on shows, this is just 4 episodes. And while there is a new season that has been ordered, that is official.
That's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while. They only announced it a couple months ago that it was coming. And I can't imagine they're going to make more than 4 or 5 more episodes at a time, considering. So everyone should watch this. And especially if you're stressed about the world right now, I can think of at least 7 things that it is perfectly normal to be stressed about right now in the real world, just off the top of my head, that are extremely worrying. This is a show that I think you could enjoy and maybe stop thinking about those things for a little while.
And you can also, I think another thing is that because it's so short, this is the kind of thing you can go back to.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's short, right? You think, I finished it already. Why not watch it again? It's like, it'll only take you, an hour. It's like,
this is the kind of show where, like, if we're hanging out with some friends at a place, like at their apartment or at a convention, and someone's like, "Oh, I haven't seen Pokemon Concierge," it's the kind of show you're like, "All right," you just pull up an episode and watch it all together.
Right. Because even if you're the kind of person who believes in spoilers and wants to know what happens, right? This is not about what happens. This is about you're in this mood of the joyful Pokemon Island for the duration of watching the show. That is what it is, right? It's almost like a seasoning on, the life being lived by those who are in its glow of whatever television it is on.
You gave me a side idea, because I know you've never heard this audio, but at the end of every Geek Nights episode, after the credits, I say the names of the patrons who still give us money for some reason, even though everything's free. And
it's because they subscribed and then forgot to turn it off.
A few of them probably, but some new people have come in. And old people.
I went and cleared out my Patreons a while ago.
I went and cleared mine out recently too, but
mostly the people who never do anything.
Yep. But gave me an idea, because I always say something at the end and then I play something weird after that. But in the last several Geek Nights episodes, a theme emerged, kind of like the Graybles from Adventure Time. By the end of the episode, like in this episode, we had a theme that emerged from multiple things we talked about was around caring about what happens versus something else in media.
Yeah,
it came up in multiple areas.
That's the thing I've been on for a year or a few.
Yeah, Scott, you're riding.
I like abstract. I realized, some time ago, it's like I like abstract arts a lot more than non-abstract arts.
Yep, you want to see
And yet the mass media in our society seems to mostly be concentrating on the exact opposite of abstract arts.
Yep. I mean, case in point, what's better? A giant space baby and then question mark, or here's how the guy got back from Mars in full detail credits?
Yep. The first one. by a lot. Landslide.